And welcome everyone to another fun episode here on Isles Talk. My name is Paul Kreischer, one of your hosts here this evening. Joining us as always is Gary Harding. Gary, how you doing?
Hi, Paul. Good to see you again.
Oh, he's actually nice. Um, Also joining us for the second time in 3 weeks. It's a new streak, just like the Islanders are on at the moment. Joe Panettiere. Joe, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm fine, Paul. Thank you.
That you are. And the real reason why we're all here tonight is we have, for the first time, from the New York Post, Ethan Sears. Ethan Sears blew that one. Ethan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful. So, listen, lots of things have gone on, Ethan, with the Islanders and Patrick Waugh, and you had a great article um, a couple of days ago about Waugh, very extended, very thorough. Give me your immediate thoughts and feelings of hiring Patrick Waugh, what you've seen at the rink, and give the fans your insight of what you have for Patrick.
Yeah, well, definitely, right away it's been noticeable just the uptick in the intensity. His passion, which kind of is the first thing that everybody will tell you about him. The attention to detail during practices. I mean, I've never seen somebody run, morning skates and have a team, stop during line rushes and do it again and again until they get it right. You know, I think the way that he has them playing, you can see just watching, right? Like it's much more offensive. It's much more puck possession focused. And going up to Quebec and talking to some people about him, you really heard just how he has sort of worked on his style over the last 7 years. Since he left Colorado, and gotten a lot more kind of, I guess, player focused, so to speak, and gotten much better at sort of taking player feedback into account, at communicating with guys in the room. And that was something that probably was maybe a little bit of a weakness for him early in his coaching career. And he's turned it into something that, you talk to guys up there who have played for him more recently, and they say, he listens to everything the players say, he cares about everybody on the team. If we had an idea, he was open to it, even if it was something different than what he was proposing. And I mean, these are guys who are, 16 to 20 years old. They're junior guys. So I mean, you know, with a team of pros, I think they obviously have that respect for him because he's Patrick Waugh, right? He's done it all. He's won, and he has that respect for them, which is important. So I think so far, you're seeing it. It's been really good so far.
So,
Well,
and
Ethan, first
go
I'll
ahead.
start. First of all,
Okay, great.
it was great hanging out with you in Nashville, and that's how we kind of got this going. Where I met you and Andrew at our hotel. Two things. First, maybe just tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Again, I know you've been working with the team for a year, but not many people have gotten to really know about you. So that's one thing. And second, kind of piggybacking to what Paul brought about. Obviously, the change in the room we know was needed, but how about the difference in the players from, say, a month ago at the end of Lane's tenure to now? I'm sure the aura, the atmosphere in the room is completely different from when it was.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think kind of towards the end, on that road trip where, I ran into you in Nashville, right? Like that was kind of where things really went off the rails with Lane. And I mean, you could see that, that game in Minnesota, they lose 5-0, and then the effort really just wasn't there. That game in Chicago, right? They came out flat in the first period and
Yeah.
pulled it back and got a point, but everyone kind of knew against the Blackhawks that wasn't going to be enough. And talking to guys on that trip, um, they were still backing Lane, right? They know that what they're supposed to say publicly, right? And they're not going to throw the coach under the bus, but you know, you could tell, right? Like kind of the tone in the room, whether it was Lane's fault or not. They knew they were losing. They knew something was needed to change it, and I think that having Patrick Watt, just like you said, it changes the atmosphere. You've seen just like Matt Barzal got asked today, does it feel like you're having more fun than you've been having? And he said, look, I always have fun when I come to the rink. I love coming here, but yeah, it's been different the last few weeks. And I think that's really the case for just about everybody on this team. You see, just it's a different atmosphere. It's a different level of belief. To your first question, I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, this is my third season covering the Islanders. I've been with the Post since 2021 in the fall. So really enjoyed my time on the beat. Before that, I went to University of Michigan, covered the football and basketball teams there, and had kind of worked for the Post over a handful of summers and built up some connections there. So yeah, really really grateful to be where I am right now and to be covering this team. It's a great job to have, and a great group of people to be around, and super. It's an interesting team. It's been been a fun few seasons on the beat.
Joe,
Joe.
I'm
Joe,
not
you got any
hearing you.
questions?
Go ahead.
Oh. Do you have any questions?
No. I was just I just wanted to make a comment on the coaching change and
Go ahead.
what I'm seeing. Just to add to what Ethan said, I think they're playing more structured than they have been since the start of the season. I just think again they just have to tighten it up in the neutral zone and tighten it up in front of the net, and I think they're going to be fine. I mean, they're playing good hockey.
Going back to your article, Ethan. Uh, great piece out of the New York Post covering Patrick Waugh. And for Gary, Joe, or anyone who weren't able to read that article, Ethan, it really sounded like when Patrick Waugh was taking over the first time as a coach, he kind of resembled more of a Mike Keenan, more of a loud, I don't want to say player. It was like a player coach, but very vocal, do this, do that, without a lot of the lessons. And what I got from your article was that, yes, the years of him not being in the NHL may have humbled him, but he learned to be a very good communicator, and he learned to be a really good communicator with the kids. What have you seen from him so far? Obviously, it's working on the Islanders so far, but what are you seeing out of his communication with the Islanders right now, and how much of an effect is that having?
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about, and obviously that part of it as well is, kind of the intensity he runs practices with, right? But you also see, towards the end of practice today, for example, him and Matt Barzal had kind of an extended one-on-one dialogue, just about kind of power play positioning, nothing crazy, but you see him taking that one-on-one time with people. You see him talking about, how he wants to kind of meet with people one-on-one and build those relationships. He's talked about, like, with Oliver Wahlstrom, right? That's someone who, you know, kind of had fallen out of favor with, the last couple coaches, right? And struggled to crack the lineup. And he's kind of made a point of saying, I want to work one-on-one with Oliver. I have time for him. I want to make sure that we're getting what we can out of him because, like, from his end, he's been told, like, yeah, Oliver was playing really well before he got hurt, a year and a half ago. And you can see him really just trying to take that time with people. And obviously he's only been here for, what has it been, 2 or 3 weeks now. You know, he's still very much in that process of kind of learning the roster, learning the guys, figuring out maybe what works and what doesn't. But the effort to be more than kind of just that, like you said, that kind of Mike Keenan drill sergeant, that side of it is still there. He's still a really intense guy. He runs an intense practice. But for that side of it to work, you also need to kind of have that relationship building, and, you need guys to know, right? Like, when he's yelling or screaming, like, he's not doing it out of, disliking people or just
Right.
like he's doing it to try to get the best out of everyone. And something that, someone said to me, and I think was in that story was, early on in his coaching career, he wasn't really good at kind of making that distinction, right? Like, he maybe thought that it was just something that was assumed, right? That, you scream and yell, but it's, to try to get everybody better. And, especially he was coaching juniors, right? Those are younger kids. Maybe that's not always assumed when you're teaching junior. And that was something that I think he really, really understood, over this kind of second stint that he had in Quebec after he left the Avalanche. Pretty much I think every single person who I talked to who, had been there for both stints in Quebec said, yeah, there's a really big difference. And doesn't tend to be something that you hear about most people, right? Like you ask, I can't think of a specific example, but you ask, say, such and such person, has he changed over the years? And a lot of times you hear, not really. Like kind of the same guy. With him, totally different. It was, yes, he thought about the way he left Colorado and how that left a bad taste in people's mouths. He thought about his methods of kind of coaching and teaching. He kind of tried to tailor things to, a younger generation, right? That, maybe is a little more, for lack of a better word, sensitive or, is worried about social media or whatever, and I think that that's really, it's going to be important going forward, as he kind of tries to build relationships with the guys on this roster.
Wow.
Maybe changing gears and let's look at the team now. I mean, coming back from the break, everybody's rested and relaxed. I think it was great that they had themselves a game against a strong team in Toronto. And to me, we were, the things we're expecting from Patrick and stuff. And you look at the game, and to me, it wasn't the most exciting of games. It wasn't the most fun, but to me, it was a complete total game from these guys. From the goaltending up front. Ilya looked great. The two P's back together again, which was shocking to a lot of people. But they both look like they didn't lose a step. I'm sure the coaching staff and all the players involved were really happy that the effort, on Monday night came to a win. What was the feeling in the locker room after that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you hit on the two most important pieces of it, right? Like Pulock and Pulock being back together, absolutely massive for this team. They've struggled defensively all year, to put it probably kindly. To have those two guys back, to finally be healthy for, really the first time since before Thanksgiving back there, absolutely huge. And Sorokin, played an excellent game, which, Varlamov's back now. The workload will be a little bit less on him. They'll hope that he kind of sees fewer shots, and you can see kind of more of the, Vezina Trophy caliber version of Ilya Sorokin versus the, very good version that, has been there all year. I'm not knocking his play at all, but there has been, a difference, right? It's, the difference between very good and great is small, but it's there. What stood out to me in that game was just even kind of when Toronto was tilting the ice, right, and had kind of long periods of pressure or possession. I thought the Islanders were much less conservative in the way they defended. They only iced the puck, I think it was twice all game. They really weren't looking to chip and change, even kind of in those spots where, probably under, Barry or under Lane, that would have been the default. They were looking to regroup, to attack when they could. And I thought that makes a big difference, like mentally for a team, because so many times this year we've seen them with a lead, sit back and try to win the game 2-1, right? And it hasn't really worked. And I didn't think that was what they were doing really at all. And, granted, they were still giving up a lot of pressure. Toronto still had a lot of the puck. They still took a bad penalty and Toronto tied the game, right? So,
Mhm.
that's obviously something that still needs to be fixed. But I think that you can kind of see the difference just in their mentality when they're holding a lead. And that really stuck out to me.
I have a question for you. Naturally, we're not around the team. What player would you say their demeanor has changed since the coaching changed? Like you notice, like wow, okay, his this really affected him the most. Is there any player you could pick out and say that this change brought something out, either on the ice or off the ice, brought
Mhm.
a change in him?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think all of them you see just a little bit of a difference in, I guess, optimism is
Right.
maybe the right word. But if you had to pick out one, so, I think Matt Barzal maybe it would be a good one to focus on. Just you see, when I mentioned earlier him kind of saying, he's having more fun right now. You I think that you've seen kind of a number of those quotes that I don't think he means them in a backhanded way to Lane at all. I think he liked playing for Lane.
Right.
Um, but they almost come off that way because he's so bought into what Patrick has to say. You saw over All-Star weekend, I think he said, Patrick's message made me want to run through a wall. He said today, yeah, our goal is not to spend, a minute in our defensive zone. We're trying to attack, and that really works for me. Um, I think that he feels like, and it makes sense, right? In Matt's game, you think about a possession oriented guy. Well, Matt Barzal can hang on to the puck better than pretty much anybody in the league, right?
Sure. I agree.
So I think that really works for him. And, I think that he is the kind of guy who gets motivated by the thought of playing for somebody like Patrick Waugh, who has, obviously such a great pedigree, right? Stanley Cups, Conn Smythe, Hall of Fame, whatever. Like, I think that, Matt Barzal is somebody who he's probably maybe the biggest just hockey fan in the room, I would say. So I think they all kind of notice that and respect it. But I think for him, that's an especially big deal, right? And
Mhm.
something that he really kind of looks on and respects, and he wants to kind of, I think, be that sort of you know person one day who has that kind of pedigree himself. So I think that I think for him it's been a pretty noticeable difference just kind of in, I guess, his sort of public facing what interactions with us.
All right, so we're not going to keep you here much longer, but I want to move a little further ahead. Um, the Rangers are currently in first place in the Metro Division. You got the Stadium Series coming up very, very shortly. Um, you covering Michigan, you know how big Michigan versus Ohio is. How badly does New York need a Rangers Islanders first round matchup this year, if it's at all possible?
I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I mean, you've seen, the Rangers have started to struggle a little bit. Carolina's made up some ground, and I think if the Islanders are going to get into the playoffs, there's probably a slightly better chance they'll do it as the 3 seed in the division versus the first wild card or second wild card spot. So, I think that's a distinct possibility, and I mean, I think it would be absolutely fantastic for the city. I think it would really get everybody engaged. It's certainly, I mean, they haven't played each other in the playoffs in my lifetime. I mean, the last time was 1994, and that was not really a series that was particularly memorable.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Ethan.
Um, but I think it would be absolutely excellent for the city. I think it would be excellent for hockey in the city. It would be excellent for both fan bases. It would be kind of a great marquee, moment for UBS. I think it would be the first kind of, really really big set of games in the new building. I guess not to knock on the playoffs last year, but certainly that would be another level. And I think it would be a pretty fun matchup too, right? The Islanders, under Patrick Waugh, it'd be a fun series. It would be a lot of fun to cover if we could get something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I mean, especially after last year when just 3 games between them. I think the last one was in December or something like that, and this year, thankfully, the league did the right thing, made sure there were 4 matchups, put them later in the year, a little bit more high profile, obviously, with the Stadium Series. And, those are going to be meaningful, big games that hopefully have good atmospheres in both buildings. It's always kind of fun, just fun to cover those.
Gentlemen, any other questions for Ethan?
No, I think we got it covered good.
Beautiful. All right, Ethan, any final thoughts here?
No, just thanks so much, guys, for having me, and I really appreciate it. And look
Where can they
forward to
find
next
you on
time.
social media?
Oh yeah, Twitter at Ethan_Sears. You spell Sears just like the store, so easy to remember. And you find my work at nypost.com, or you can pick up a print copy of the paper.
I still
That's
do.
an
I
idea.
still do.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
All right, Ethan, thanks for coming on, and we'll have you on during the season.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.
Take care,
Thanks
Ethan.
again, Ethan.
Take
Yep.
care.
All righty. So, before we continue here, we actually do have a sponsor for this show tonight, boys and girls.
Dun, dun, dun.
Joe, Joe, do you want to show? Joe, you want to show yours off?
There we go.
Here we go. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, I got to be honest with you. I don't wear jewelry, not often. Okay, I've got this watch, I've got this cross here. Okay, I'm not a big jewelry guy. I'm not. However, when Joe got me this for Christmas, it's Islanders. They look gorgeous. The quality is really, really good. These are just some of the other ones from our friend Christine. She makes these handmade. They're really nice. Um, you know, you they fall on the floor. They're really made a really good quality. They're not going to break on you. And I'm not going to lie, with colors like these, okay, this is now part of my Islanders apparel if I ever go to a game. Like this is on
Someday.
the wrist. Yeah.
Oh, and the Mets too. Those are the Mets colors.
And the Mets, sure.
Yeah.
Even the Knicks, if you're a basketball fan, which I'm not. But,
Yeah. So this show is sponsored by Christine St. Lou. She makes these beads. If you go on to the bracelets, and she also has men's, women's sizes, whatever you want, you can custom make them. We've already warned her. If you're looking into something like these, go on her website. It's down there below, christinestlu.com. If you enter promo code IslesTalk, you get 10% off your order. It really is solid. Like I will wear this every game now. It's part of the whole attire, I get my booster club thing, make sure I don't get yelled at by Gary. I got the ring on and everything else. He's got the sweatshirt. I'm telling you, get yourselves one of these. It's really good. And we want to thank Christine for sponsoring the show tonight. And make sure you hit that website, hit promo code IslesTalk, and you'll get 10% off your order. And Christine's already very well aware. If you just ask for the Isles bracelet, she knows what you're talking about. So you can design whatever color you want. So there's that. Gentlemen, we were asked to do and cover the standings here a little bit. Probably because people want to know, what's it going to take for the Islanders to get into the playoffs here a little bit. So as of right now, the Philadelphia Flyers are still in 8th place based off of the percentages. They're on pace for 93 points. Joe, I know you have been a big fan of the Flyers outside of Long Island, of course. And listen, if Carter Hart did not have his situation, I think Philadelphia might still be in it a little bit longer. And I'm still going to give props to John Tortorella. I think he's Jack Adams' finalist, at least somewhere, for doing what he's doing.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I just don't know if they can hold on. The Islanders right now are on pace for 89 points. And folks, I'm actually going to tell you that's better than where they were 51 games, 50 games before last year. Okay. Last year, at this time, they were on pace for 85 points. And right now, they're ahead by 89. So they weren't as bad as they were last year, but they can obviously improve. Now, if they can take out Tampa let's put you this way. In the immediate future, if the Islanders can win the next 4 games, bingo. Like, forget it. It's a run all the way to game 82. Like, they are there. They're on pace for 94, 95 points. They're in the thick of things. That's third. That should get them to third right off the bat. So the Islanders need a 4-game winning streak, including what they've already done. So let's just call it a 5-game winning streak total. Having said that, the Islanders only need to do for the rest of the season is a 6 games over NHL 500 for the second half of the season. 6 games over NHL 500 lands them around 94, 95 points. Gary, I'll throw this off to you. With the defense that we currently have, and let me tell you something. This is the first healthy 6-7 defenseman. I'll throw in Bolduc. Bolduc's been healthy even as a 7th defenseman. This is a very healthy defense. We've got Sorokin now well rested, and we have Semyon Varlamov. With the defense and goaltending that we have, do you think the Islanders can go 6 games over the NHL 500?
Without question.
Okay.
Just keeping everybody healthy? Yes, without question. I really do. I think, everybody rags on Mayfield, and the way he's played, but you put him in a 5-6 role, he's fine. I think when he's had to step up and go into the 3-4 slot, it hasn't been as successful. He's got limitations. He could do his things, but, he could be effective. I like him with Riley, because Riley can do the puck movement and stuff like that. And Scotty can stay back. And, I know they moved, Pulock and Pulock around last year, and I wasn't necessarily thrilled with that, but, getting them back together, it's like having a meal that you haven't had in years. And when you have it in your system, it's like, oh yeah, this is good. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. And, this whole change in the structure and everything else still, to me, is going to help Ilya and Semyon a lot more than you think. So I'm comfortable with it, with everything that's going on. And 6 games over NHL 500 with this, I can't see it. And you got big games. You got a couple big games with the Devils. You got a couple big games with the Flyers. You got 4 with the Rangers. You got your division matchups, and these are huge. You can pull these wins off. There's no problems.
Joe, do you want to add anything to that? By the way, gentlemen, the Islanders are currently 7-4-4 in the Metro Division. So
I agree with Gary.
Okay.
And I'm having a little delay with the audio. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I agree with Gary. The Islanders have to stay out of. It's not so much they have to go on these winning streaks. They got to stay out of the prolonged losing streaks.
Correct.
You lose a game or 2, fine. You got to come back and win the next 3 or 4. You got to start putting wins together in bunches and keep the games you lose from
the regulation losses.
Exactly. And with the way they're playing now, I could see it's only going to get better. They're going to get stronger as far as execution. But we talked about the points. Okay.
Right.
I said by the trade deadline they have to be under 7. If they're out, it has to be under 7 points, because
Right.
those points are hard to make up
Right.
after the trade deadline. You just
Yeah.
don't have the room to start climbing over teams, because teams that are in front of you, you're going to climb over a team, but then the team ahead of them is going to get hot. So you really right now have to tighten it up and get yourself back into the race. I mean, they're only 4 points out. They're 4 points behind the third spot.
4.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a great spot, but now it's like Gary said. Now you're going to be playing teams in your division. You got the Rangers 4 times. You got the Devils a couple of times. The Flyers. These are the teams that you have to beat now. That's it. You got to beat the teams ahead of you.
And again, to Joe's point, and Joe is absolutely correct. Usually by the trade deadline, and this is what I tell everyone when you're doing the point pace and the percentages. Once you get to game 60, but especially at game 65, ladies and gentlemen, the percentages don't matter anymore. You are literally looking at the standings, and it is the same thing. So by game 65, you don't even need the percentages anymore. Everyone's going to be in there for that. That's that final lap of the race that Joe and I always talk about at the beginning of the season. Once you hit game 65, that is the final lap in your little horse race. That there it is. It's those final 15 games where you are literally looking at the standings, you're looking at the horses, and you're looking to see who finishes where. To Joe's point, the trade deadline is usually, in this case for this year, right around game 60. So if the Islanders are in there, they're in it for the long haul. They're going all the way through. So, gentlemen, coming up through the next 10 games, do you think? Well, we'll go with Joe at the moment. Joe, do you think the Islanders should be buyers for a forward, knowing that we now have a decent, healthy defense?
If the defense is playing solid, and like Gary said before, it's there. We have the full squad for the first time in a while. I would think you have to go. You have to complete that top line. You got to go out and get the winger that completes that top line. That top line. It's not complete. You have to get that winger that could put the puck in the net.
Okay. Gary.
Yeah. There's
Thoughts on a forward.
Yeah. One of your favorite players apparently has changed agents in a town up in Ontario. So who knows what the future might hold for a certain person that you kept saying was going to come here, but we're not going to talk about that, but that's
we're going to briefly mention that. We're going to briefly mention that. For those of you who do not know, we've had Tarasenko coming to the Islanders now for what, the last 2 years, Joe? 3 years?
2 seasons, yeah,
at least two
seasons. Okay,
yeah.
We're hoping because we've been good boys this year. We're hoping
he completes that line. I mean,
he does complete that line. Yes.
He completes that line.
We're kind of hoping the Islanders throw us a bone here, because then we would love to piss off half this fan base with him coming to the island. We've earned this one. Okay.
Yeah.
If we're not told, I will flip. I will flip. I want to piss off half this fan base. At least half this fan base. No, there is no better option. We're being selfish here, Angie. Yeah, we're being selfish here, Angie. There is no better option. We want this one.
Yeah, we definitely want this option. Yeah, but I mean,
in all seriousness,
they got to look at something that that could be done. Everybody says, "Oh, Lou just doesn't want to do anything." Blah 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 blah. I'm sure they're looking for options. Now with the LTIR on Casey now, and Portuzo's not a big mount. You're not still talking at a lot of money to play with here, but if they're getting towards the trade deadline and there's a need, and if they can get that need, they've got to make a solid effort to go get it. I mean, let's see what the trade deadline's. What, March 11th, I think.
March 8th.
8th.
March 8th. Oh, okay. All right. So we're talking like 3 weeks. See what happens. Post. Post Stadium
Sure.
Series game.
Sure.
Because we know Lou tends to like to do something before the deadline. We got Horvat last year. Pacho was done 2 or 3 weeks before the trade deadline. So he likes to do those things ahead of time, and set himself up. So we'll see what happens.
Robin, I love you. Yes, they do. They've got a couple of good wingers, and honestly, again, there's nothing confirmed here. This is just, it's not even a hypothetical. I always like it when we're on the right track to that right type of player that the Islanders need. Um, Rasmussen out of Detroit's another one, but Casey Middlestat out of Buffalo, he's a centerman, he's a winger. You can put him on that second line if you really wanted to, or you can put him on the first line. But in 2 years, if you really wanted to let Brock Nelson go, Casey Middlestat could be your next number 2 centerman, and he's that Matthew Barzal on that second line. So I'm not saying the Islanders are going to go after Casey Middlestat, but if you can get a player like him where you ask him to play the left wing side just to start and then eventually transition over to a center, I think that would be a move Lou would probably go with this season. That's just my thought. We'll go from there. Maybe it is just a left winger at this point, but again, we don't know who the Islanders are going after with. And to be honest with you, gentlemen, I really don't want to look. I'm actually genuinely curious as to which way Lou's going to go. Because Tarasenko for me, as much as I would love him, cap is an issue, and he's 32 now. He probably is a rental per se, but I don't know how much he would be looking for in the next year or two. So I don't know. Is there anyone out there, Joe, that you were thinking of, maybe, or an idea?
Oh, well, he was actually the only one I was thinking of. But no, I really I don't like to look into trades. I just I like to sit back,
Right.
And just because there's so many names out there, but with the situation the Islanders are in with that top line, you can't go out and bring in a kid to play on that line. You got to go out and get an established winger, a guy that could put the puck in the net. That's what you need.
Right.
That's what you need, and he fits. He fits that bill.
Right. Skinner does make way too much. He's at $9 million. He's there.
Yeah.
Skinner's not going anywhere. I
Yeah.
personally, Jim, I think I wanted Jeff Skinner, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
I think he would have been great on that first line because Joe and I talked about that a few years ago. I wanted Jeff Skinner on that line. Unfortunately, he is hurt. All right, let's talk real quick Vetrano. I think Vetrano is going to go to the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to get desperate enough and they're going to trade Vetrano. I can't see Adam Henrique as a Ranger. I could see Adam Henrique going back to the Devils. I can't see both of them being Rangers. I think it's going to say one or the other.
The Flyers are going to look to strengthen up.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
That.
Let's talk Flyers now, real quick. Let's be respectful here. The Flyers are in it. None of us really had them in it. Honestly, Cal Peterson's not going to get them through the season. We know.
No, they're going to make a move for a goaltender. That's definitely.
They make a move for
Yeah.
What? All right, let's throw this out there. Marc-Andre Fleury, a veteran goaltender. Marc-Andre Fleury, someone like that, going to Philadelphia. Could that keep them in the playoff hunt, or maybe even get them into the playoffs?
Wow.
That's scary, putting him on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about all the years of goaltending being such a a bad luck charm for that organization. You know, something like that to happen. Wow, that really opens my eyes. I mean,
That's
Urson's played incredible. I mean, his numbers aren't, he's
Yeah.
got a solid GAA. The save percentage is not as high as you want it to be, but he's played well. He's definitely earned some kind of opportunity. But to get to the playoff spot, you want somebody that experience, and you don't know whether Fleury's going to want to drop his trade deadline, because you don't know if it's going to be his last season. He broke, he went ahead of Patrick. You don't know whether he wants to go further. So that's a tough situation. And you wonder, what would be the reaction in the western part of the state if Marc-Andre Fleury starts playing in the eastern part of Pennsylvania. Think about that.
Oh.
That has to bring something into play.
All right, well, let's have some fun about this now. That would be like Billy Smith playing for the Rangers. Can you really see Marc-Andre Fleury in a Philadelphia Flyers uniform? Do you think he would say yes? Oh, you do?
I think he would go there.
Ooh.
I think he would go there. Listen, you gotta realize something. To a player, it doesn't matter what the fan base thinks. It's who's going to give him the paycheck and they want to win. That's what it is.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, as fans, we think of it in two aspects. One, the jersey, and one, who's representing it. So right. Yeah, I totally agree. But if for a hockey student of the game standpoint, it would be a great move. But you wonder what you'd have to give, you're still, even though he's at the twilight of his career, Billy Guerin's not going to allow Marc-Andre Fleury to leave Minnesota and get nothing in return. He's got to get something significant back.
Right.
So that's the only thing that would kind of hurt.
But could you see the spotlight that would put on the Flyers?
Yeah.
If that happened.
Yeah,
that would take away the spotlight from the Isles. Right. That would take away the spotlight from the Isles.
Look at the other comment that's in the section that Jim just wrote. Fleury to Edmonton.
Elvis. Elvis. Merzlinkins. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, Elvis hasn't really been playoff tested.
No.
He'd be interesting. But again.
That's a gamble. That's a gamble.
Yeah. Hill wasn't really playoff tested. Logan Thompson was not, playoff tested.
But he had a solid team around him, which makes up for it.
Yes.
Putting Merzlinkins in a Flyer uniform or whatever doesn't really give him that, that extra bump, where it was if it was an LA Kings team or a Vegas team or something like that. I think there's a difference between the two.
Fleury to Edmonton. I don't know if Fleury would do that. I think if Fleury goes to Edmonton, he'd have to be the starter.
Yeah.
Agreed. But that's kind of a serious insurance policy.
Yeah, it is.
Skinner's been great. He's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde this year. He's definitely got my vote for it. But do you trust him come April and May? That's hard.
Oh, it is. And
Fontaine go ahead.
And you don't know what Edmonton team is going to show up in front of that goaltender. I mean, all right, they went on the streak, but they could very easily lose 15 games in a row.
They could drop 4. They can win 4.
You know what I mean? Well, they won't. But I'm just saying they're not that. Wow, they won 15. They just no team could keep up that pace. It's impossible. Look at the Devils. They won 13 in a row last season, and then they lost. I think they lost 8 or 9 or something after that. I mean, but Fleury to Edmonton. Ooh. Wow.
Yeah.
But the last thing you want before the playoffs is a goaltender controversy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right. Pinto in Ottawa. I think Pinto's going to re-signing with Ottawa. So
Yeah.
I don't see. And
Yeah.
again, another sleeper pick from me. It's a couple of tiers down, but I would take Pulock off Ottawa's hands. I know he's a third line guy, but you put him on the right line, he can rack up 25 to 30 goals. He did it with Chicago. He did it with the Wings before he went to Ottawa. You put him on the right line, you give him a playoff chance right now. Kubalik would be a nice little sleeper pick for me. I don't think the Islanders are going to go after Brandstrom just yet. I think that might be later on during the draft. Iserman making a trade because the Wings aren't ready to do damage in the postseason. Robin, I love you, but I'm going to respectfully disagree, only because I'm going to play selfish here, and I had Detroit making the playoffs because of what they're doing. And in all honesty, they have Patrick Kane on this team right now. He is not going to settle for anything less than a postseason berth at this point. Man hasn't seen it, and I think in almost a decade. Detroit's going to find a way to make it into the playoffs. However, I will say this again: if Middlestat's not available, I will gladly take Rasmussen off of Detroit's hands for that same reason of he can play left wing, and then he could eventually turn into the Islanders' second line center when Brock finally decides that he is done. But no, I can definitely see. I think Detroit's an actual buyer this year. I think his plan is to be a buyer and get into the playoffs. No. Why would Fleury go to Toronto? I love you, but that ain't happening. That's playoff suicide. No, I can't. All right, gentlemen. Toronto in itself. Let's be serious. I don't think they can beat Boston. I don't think they can beat Florida, and they're going to be playing one of the two. I think. Tampa right now is hot. Um,
Well, if the
Toronto,
season ended
even
today,
Toronto,
they'd be playing the Rangers.
Toronto.
Yeah. They're in the first wild card spot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true. I have them on the percentage. They're still in third in my percentage thing, but that's
Oh,
fine.
I
No,
got
they're
you.
all
All right.
close. Yeah. For now, they're third. That doesn't mean Tampa and Detroit can't overtake them in another game or two. That's
Oh
how
no,
close it is.
I'm just going like by what the
Yeah,
standings are
but
today.
let's have fun with that. Do you think Toronto can beat the Rangers in the first round?
7 games, yeah, I think they could beat them. It has to be a long series. You're not beating the
Okay.
Rangers in 4 games or 5 games. That's not happening. You got to take them 7 games and wear them down.
Okay. And after that, you're probably going to play. If you don't play the Rangers, you're probably playing either Boston. Yeah, you're playing either Boston or the Panthers in that next round, or in that first round. Good luck.
Pick your poison.
If you're Fleury, no. Good luck. Yeah, no.
We
So
all know what Florida is capable of doing.
absolutely, let's
They
have
could
some fun with this. Boston, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they could turn it on in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's the style they play.
Yeah. All right. Boston. They won the President's Trophy last year. They're smart this year. They're going to let Vancouver take it. Boston's probably going to play. We'll say for now, we'll give them 3 options: Toronto, Tampa, or Detroit. If they're healthy, can Boston get out of the first round?
Definitely.
Okay. I think if they take on the Wings, I think the Wings are going to give them a good run for the money. But I think Boston would take out the Wings. I think Boston could definitely beat the Leafs. And Tampa, I just need to know what kind of team Tampa's going to be in the playoffs. Like, are we just the Detroit Red Wings of old where they're just making the playoffs and be like, oh, we're done. We got our bonuses and we're going home. We've already won 2 cups. You know, what Tampa team is actually going to show up here?
I don't know if you saw, but they lost Sergachev tonight to a big injury.
Did
Yeah,
they
I think
really?
he broke his leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boyle did bring that up somewhere, but I think it was
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I saw it. It was nasty. That was
Yeah.
a bad
Oh.
injury. Bad injury.
Okay.
And truthfully, Vasilevsky, from what I've seen a little bit of the game, looked really, really shaky.
Okay.
And somebody asked who the backup is. I don't even know who the backup is for Tampa.
Oh, he's the Swedish backup. I want to say Johansson. Someone's going to correct me in
Someone's
in
going
the
to put
chat
it up
room.
on. Yeah,
Yeah,
someone's going to put it up.
Johansson, I think is his last name.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
We're probably
But
going to see him tomorrow anyway.
yeah. Oh, it is Johansson. Woohoo! Got that right. Yeah. See, folks, this is why, at least on this show, and I'm only going to speak for the three of us, we really don't talk Stanley Cup contenders until a couple of games before the playoffs because we honestly don't know what this season is going to do. We still have 30 games left in the season. 30.
Yeah.
It's a lot of games. A lot of things can happen.
40% of the season is still there.
Yeah. I mean, Johannesburg. Okay. I was close. So, but yeah, folks, it's nice to think Stanley Cup aspirations. Absolutely. And should the goal be the Stanley Cup? Yes, but it's not. It's tough to do. It's tough to even talk about it, even in the beginning of February. Teams really don't start talking about the playoffs until after the All-Star break anyway. So, here we are, and now Tampa's in trouble. You just don't know. The season's that long. So, for right now, the first step is to get into the playoffs. After that, you go from there. For me, as far as I'm concerned, if the Islanders are healthy and ready to go, yeah, let's run with it. Because this Metro is a hot mess. If there was ever a time for the Islanders to be a buyer, it's this season. And I'll tell you right now, folks, there's a big drop off. Okay, I follow the draft. Been doing it now since 2008. Gary will vouch to a certain degree. There's a big drop off, ladies and gentlemen, after the 10th ranked person draftee in this draft. 10th. Big drop off. This is a particular draft where I'm not worried if Lou trades another first round pick. I'm not. And if Lou can get us into the second round of the playoffs or even a conference finals, you're still looking at pick 18, 19, 20. No big deal. In this draft, no big deal. Yeah, not in this draft. If this were the 22 draft, if this was the 19 draft, even the 17 draft, I would be a little more nervous. It's like, no, please don't do that. The 2024 drafts, I'm not worried about. Unless the Islanders can somehow win the draft lottery and they can only get into 10th, okay, you keep the pick. This is a draft right now, folks. Be comfortable trading away that first round pick. I'm all right. I'm all right for it. Robin, Tampa trouble, Philly trouble, Washington pretenders, Columbus nope. Yeah, folks, guys, let's talk Washington real quick. Are we just in here for the Alex Ovechkin show to see if he can break Gretzky's record? I mean, I like what Washington's done. They brought in a couple of players who weren't succeeding on other teams. They're bringing them in. Hershey won the Calder Cup last year. There is some signs that the organization is still fairly healthy, but at some point, you got if anyone has to sell or do a retool, it's the Capitals. And I don't know if I can't see the Capitals keeping everybody just for the sake of Ovechkin getting Gretzky's record. First off, Ovechkin's got to drop 20 pounds. He's got to get thinner. He's got to get a little faster to compete with these kids these days. Joe, real quick, give me your thoughts on Washington. What do you think they should do?
Well, Washington's at that 7-point cusp that, I talk about, come the trade deadline. It could be worse by then. I don't think it's going to get better. They got to make moves. I mean, hey, listen, the Islanders learned that mistake by holding on to the veterans to be loyal to them during the Cup years. Like, 1987, 88, everybody's losing a step. You got to start moving the players. I mean, they got to. I think at the trade deadline they're going to be sellers. I can't see them. I can't see them keeping everybody around just so I mean, look, it's a great record. You know what I mean? And he's close. He's not far off. But if you don't have somebody feeding him the puck, you know what I mean? So I think I think they got to sell at the trade deadline because right now they're at that 7-point margin, and I think it's only going to be worse. They might be 15, 16 points out by the trade deadline.
Right. Gary, real quick, again, water cooler talk. No, this is outside rumor mill, whatever. This is just us blabbering at the moment. TJ Oshie to the Islanders. Would you still take him at his age?
TJ Oshie, that's a tough call.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real tough call. He's a little long in the tooth, but he's got some moments. But I think with this team, you don't want to put a 37, 38-year-old guy on the roster, to be honest. I know there may not be a lot of pickings out there, names in that, but I'm not sure. I would say
right.
no. I would say no.
All right, so this is coming up in the chat room real quick. Mayfield played his best game of the season the other night against Toronto. Not a coincidence that Waugh at the helm has given Scott a whole new life.
By the way, just to mention this guy, I met him up in Buffalo when we were on the trip to see the Owls play the Sabres. He's a Toronto guy, but a huge Islander fan. So he's
welcome, Rob.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it. I really think Scotty had a good game the other night. I really, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, you take him out of the 3-4 responsibilities and put him in the 5-6, and you're saving a couple extra minutes, which maybe gives them a little bit of extra oomph come period 3. I think he played a smart game. He to this day, he still scares me when he brings the puck up. I'm just like, to me, he's almost telegraphic. It's like, I know what he's going to do, but the physicality part is big. And I think he played a great physical game the other night. So I agree with you, Rob. I think if he keeps up with this, it's going to be a big help. Now that you got the 2 Ps back, I think it's a great spot.
Yeah, Isles are not out of position as much. Switch to the 2 man-to-man under Waugh's system. Joe, you've been talking about that quite a bit.
Well, they're not really playing a man-to-man. They're playing modified box.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's more. They're not playing the way they were playing
zone. It's not a full zone.
Right. They're not playing the way they were on the trots, where
right.
You went to the boards, you came back. You know what I'm saying? They're the Capitals play a man-to-man, a man-on-man defense. You know what I mean? We're playing more of a modified box. That's all it is. He's right in a way, yeah. But they're not chasing the player around the around the defensive zone. That's they're giving up at some point. So.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Listen, real quick in the chat room for you guys. Next week, it is Valentine's Day. I know Gary's not going to be here. He's got to get something for his wife now for Valentine's Day and his anniversary. So everyone say happy anniversary to Gary and put your condolences there if you ever see her. Make sure Gary gets one of these for his wife.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You're getting them, Gary.
And do you guys want a show next week? That's the question. I can do a show. That's not a big deal. If you guys are going to have plans, I can do a show. It doesn't really matter. If you want a show, I'll do it. If not, we can just wait the following week. So leave your comments below.
Everybody might be hyped up for the outdoor game because we're basically off until then.
That's right. Oh, you know what? Maybe we'll do it on another day if I can get off somewhere. Oh, maybe I can do it on Monday. You know what? I'm working Monday morning. I'm working Monday morning. I might be able to pull that off on a Monday night. I might do that, ladies and gentlemen.
Could I bring up something? Could I bring up something real
Go ahead.
quick before we go?
Yeah.
I just want to, because Jim, brought up the man-to-man, and I just want to talk about the penalty kill. I haven't seen a diamond penalty kill in like 15 years. I haven't seen a team play that diamond kill with one man on front, two men. You know what I'm saying? When was the last time you saw that?
It's been a while, but explain to the younger fans what a diamond penalty kill actually is.
Okay, diamond penalty kill is the guy. You have one guy at the top of the circles. You have two, a forward and a defenseman in the middle between the two face-off circles, the two face-off dots, and then you have one defenseman in front of the goaltender. The top guy chases the two defensemen. He chases the puck between the defenseman and
Between the points.
Right, to get the puck along the boards. Once they get the puck along the boards, then one of the defensemen in the middle will chase that forward down.
Mhm.
So, but I haven't seen that in a long time. A long time. That's old school. That's what, 90s maybe?
Yeah.
Yes. Late 90s. I think.
Yeah.
Late
Yeah,
90s.
That's what I heard, that he had did it in the queue.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And it's, listen, hey, if it works.
Hey, what's old is new again. That's what you see, I mean,
yeah.
the 90s were the left wing lock and all this other stuff, and then things changed. They open it up and then it closed. It's good to try something that nobody else is doing, because if it works, then you're going to see 10 coaches do it next year.
And you know what's scary? Jacques Lemaire is the one that made all that, the left wing lock, the neutral zone trap,
Yep.
Diamond penalty kill. I mean, it's,
Leave it to those
We learned it.
habitants de Montreal.
Yep.
All right, so let's answer Dave's question real quick. Do you think Wally prospers under Wall?
It's up to Wally if he prospers under Wall.
Yeah. Yeah,
We've
we're
been
at
saying
that
it all
point.
along. It's up to him. He's now got backing. Where the days where he was struggling and put it on the wall, he's got the backing of Patrick right now. Patrick's looking at him. He's talking to him. He's doing what what coaches need to do to get somebody to get moving. And I think it's great if he picks up. And I thought he had a decent game the other night. Those last two games have been good. Not super. He made a mistake that caused the penalty. That got the goal and whatever. But overall, I still think his game is better. It's now up to him. Bottom line.
So, and I know, I think Robin's trying to bring up Ishakov from the minors. Listen, again, I think for me, Ishakov would probably be better suited as a 13th forward next season. And if something happens to Anders Lee, you can just slide Ishakov right in. But I think Ishakov really needs to learn Patrick Watt's system. Ishakov has been working on his back checking. He does have an okay 200-foot game. Could it be better? Yes. Let's get that out of the way. If Ishakov really wants an NHL career, let him be the 13th forward. Give him now what I'm going to call the Samuel Bolduc treatment. He gets enough practice in. He gets in enough hustle. He learns the system. And then Wall will get him in a couple of games, and you let him develop. Okay? Ishakov is not going to come in and just run through everybody. That's not happening.
Did you see that filthy move he had at the All-Star game?
Filthy move.
Oh,
move.
my
I mean,
God.
if anything, folks, he will give Franz Nielsen a run for his money in the shootout. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, that All-Star game is 3-on-3. Okay. Put him in
True,
overtime. Put him in overtime. Put him in the shootouts. Wonderful. But 5-on-5, let him develop under Patrick Waugh first. Then release him.
Yeah.
Got to have a 200-foot game.
But the great thing about that clip, and if you didn't see it, if you're on X, Alan Furing posted it the other day. But I mean, those announcers never saw him, and you could tell. And all of a sudden, they're like, "That's unreal. That's not real." That's when people are shocked on a move. And again, as you said, and I've heard this too, that his game is improving, bit by bit, but he needs a little more. Again, you don't want to rush. Again, Islander fans that have been around as long as Joe and Paul and I have been here, we've rushed people too many times. You got to let them breathe. It just has to be. I mean, this kid's got talent. He's got talent so much, but without needing him the right way, it's never going to improve. And that's why I say Wally's got the chance, but Wally's got to want to do it.
He can't be another Dave Chazowski.
Man, he cost the Islanders a lot of money in glass.
Dave Chazowski.
I'll never forget going to a practice at Caniac one afternoon in 1988.
Yep.
When he basically broke three panes of glass at Caniac in one practice. 3 of them. And he wasn't trying.
Yep.
So
he had a rocket of a shot, but he just couldn't connect. He just didn't. I don't know if they rushed him or if they,
they just thought too much of him. They thought he was gonna just turn around and be the new Mike Bossy, and it just didn't happen. And what was I gonna say? I was gonna call. I used to call him the Fulton Reed. Yes. Anybody that remembers the Mighty Ducks movies?
Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
He was 1 in 5, but actually he was like 1 in 55.
55. So, Robin, I love you. This is the perfect scouting report on Wally at the moment. While Wally plays with jam like Anders, he's a force. Yes, it's called Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah.
Kyle Palmieri is Anders Lee on the right-hand side. That's what I'm looking for out of Oliver Wahlstrom. I'm hoping he can turn into a younger version of a Kyle Palmieri. And hopefully he gets on that second line when it's Palmieri's time to retire or he's no an Islander. So
let me ask you something. Do you think he gets in his own head?
Yes.
Wahlstrom,
yes.
Without question.
Right?
Without question.
No doubt.
His head's the problem. His head's been the problem his entire professional career.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. He's in his own head. He gets out of his head. He just let the game come to him, and he plays to Wah's style. Wah's not going to let him go. Because Wah knows he's eventually going to get it, and it's going to come much quicker to him. Much quicker to him. So, again, if Wally shows up, maybe they don't have to make a trade. Maybe. Who knows?
He better get moving.
It's almost like somebody that gets hurt,
You better get moving.
Back.
So, all right, folks. It's now a little bit past 9. We're going to call it, quits here tonight. We want to thank you guys for coming on. Please don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Isles Talk. Follow us and like us on Facebook. And please hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. It helps us out immensely with everything. And again, we want to thank our sponsor, Christine St. Lou, for sponsoring the show tonight. We really appreciate everything she's helped us with so far. Gentlemen, where can they find you, Gary?
At Isles Met 63, and looking forward to hopefully a good weekend of Islanders hockey. We go win tomorrow against Tampa Bay. They just scored, and it's now 2-1 with the Rangers. So see if they come back, and looking forward to spanking our buddies Flames on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, certain someone might get blocked for the day. We'll see.
Well, he went off early tonight here on the board.
Yeah, he might get blocked for a week if the Flames win at UBS. So that's how I'm going with that. Joe, thank you for coming on. Where can they find you on social media?
Thanks for having me. Joe Panettiere on X.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, due to Valentine's Day and due to the surprising fact that I'm actually working a morning shift on Monday, we're going to do a show. Uh, this is completely up to Gary and Joe. This is completely out of the blue here. I'm going to do a show probably around 7, 8 o'clock, depending on the availability of these two. But some of you have been asking me, why has Lou been doing trades of the first round picks? Why have we only drafted 3 players in the first round over the last 6 or 7 years? Why are we doing this retool? Why don't we just tear it all down? Why don't we just do a rebuild? Why is Lou doing this? Why is Lou doing that? Why is Lou still here? Uh, I'm going to do a show on that specifically on Monday. Most of my research now is 90% done. I've already had it. But it's not pro Lou, it's not against Lou. But what I want to give Islander fans is a better understanding as to why the Islanders have been doing what they've been doing the last several years. And I want to go into a little more depth into showing you there is an actual light at the end of this tunnel, even with the draft picks that they currently have. So that's going to be coming up on Monday. A lot of your questions are going to get answered. You may not like them, you may love them. I don't know. But I want to give you guys at least an understanding as to why Lou has been able to do or what he's been allowed to do these last several years. So I hope you join us on Monday. It's been a great show. We love you guys. Join us on Monday, and we will see you then. Let's go, Islanders, and the Calgary Flames really do stink.